It's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch, and today I'm going to head out to the chicken coop and put another layer of wood chips down. I use something that's called the deep litter method, which basically means over the winter time, rather than cleaning out my chicken coop every 4 weeks or so, I just keep adding wood chips to it. Once I get down to the chicken coop, I'll explain a little bit more why I do that. Hey Missy, what do you want? Huh? Hi. Let's go. It's much warmer feeling out right now than it was this morning when it was minus 36 degrees. Woo! So cold, and that's without wind chill. Thankfully, there is no wind today, so it's not too terribly bad. Hi, baby. The reason that I use the deep litter method is because most of the time in the winter here, it is just too cold to actually be able to clean out a chicken coop. Everything just freezes and it's just a huge pain in the butt. So I've been using the deep litter method for years. During the winter time and in the summertime, I don't have to clean my coop very often anyway because my chicken's free range. But this winter was actually the first winter that I could see the flaws in the deep litter method. During the first part of the winter, it was really, really warm, well above normal for this area. And there was even stretches where it was above zero, which created in my chicken coop a really wet and moist situation, which is not what you want in the winter time. Chickens can withstand really cold temperatures. We hit minus 37 degrees last night. I have to deal with very little frostbite on my chickens. That's for two reasons, which I'll talk about in a minute. One of the reasons is because I make an effort to keep my chicken coop really dry. Wherever you add moisture and humidity, the chances of frostbite are much higher, and the chances of you ending up with other kinds of health issues are a lot higher. Gross. Back a couple of weeks ago, I had actually planned to come out to the chicken coop and clean it out. It was warm enough to do it. The ground was thawed in the chicken coop, and my plan was to clean it out, but our temperatures dropped but our temperatures dropped dramatically within the last couple of weeks, like they did in most parts of North America. I've decided, because it's supposed to be cold for another couple of weeks, at least well below freezing, to just continue on with the deep litter method until the spring thaw, and then I'll give the chicken coop a really good clean. I actually have a whole bunch of maintenance to do on this chicken coop, which will be something that I will film when I do it, because I don't know if you can see back here behind me, this is a log chicken coop, and that is mud chinking. This chicken coop was built back in the 30s, and they used mud chinking then, so I'm actually going to use mud chinking to re-chink a lot of this chicken coop and do some other maintenance. So that'll be a really fun project to do in the spring when everything thaws out and I can make some mud without freezing my hands. I raise a couple of different breeds of chickens. Some of them are just for fun because I like the color variety in my flock. My favorite chicken breed of all, particularly for our climate, is called the Partridge Chanticleer. And that rooster there, he's a Partridge Chanticleer rooster. And you'll notice he didn't have a huge comb on his head, which makes him less prone to frostbite. He has something that's called a pea comb, and it just means that the comb is very close to his head. And the females, which I'll show you in a minute, theirs is actually pretty much flat on their head, so they're not as prone to frostbite. They were also bred for Canadian climate, so they're a really, really hardy bird. I have a hen who is just about 8 years old, and she's still alive and still lays for me. She doesn't lay a lot now, but she still lays, which is pretty unbelievable. Okay, let's get to this cleaning. have ducks in my chicken coop, you may be asking, because in videos in the past I have said that I do not think it's a good idea to keep ducks with chickens, and I still hold to that. The problem that I had this year, as I mentioned this, is that I kept turkeys for much longer than I should, and you've probably noticed in a couple of these shots that I still have a couple of hens in my chicken coop as well, along with the ducks. So I was keeping my turkeys in the greenhouse, which was working perfectly fine for them, but they were beating up on the ducks because of poor planning, really. I had nowhere to put my ducks, and so my ducks came into the chicken coop. There's one of the turkeys as we speak. And so this was just the most practical place that I had available to keep the ducks in. As soon as it is warm enough, I will be building a separate place to keep the ducks, to house the ducks. They free range during the summertime, but to house the ducks in the wintertime, because keeping ducks and chickens together is just not something that I want to be doing over the long run. It seems to be working out okay in here, but in the meantime, I just need to have lots of bedding down to soak up all of the mess that the ducks make. The people that designed this chicken coop were obviously from the north, because they understood that in the wintertime, when chickens are just contained into a small coop area that's like this, so this is the inside part of the chicken coop here, they can't get any fresh air and any sunlight. So what they did back in here is where we just were, and that is the indoor part of the chicken coop. And then they created this outside area that's a covered run, so it's screened off on the sides like this, so that lots of sunlight and lots of fresh air can come into this space, but there is a roof on it. So the way that this is designed is that the north side is the side that the actual chicken coop, the part that's the inside part of the chicken coop, is on, and then the west side is also solid, so protection from the wind, and the south side and the east side are both open for the sun. We use hay for bedding in our nesting boxes, and the reason that we do that in the winter time is because it provides a little extra warmth for the chickens in there, but also because it doesn't get kicked out as easily as the wood chips do. And when a couple of the kids were bringing up some hay bales to put in here the other day, they had one explode in this entrance area here. You can see that there. Rather than use the wood chips, I think I'm just going to spread around this hay in this space because it's here already, so why not? And it'll give them a little extra insulation on the ground for warmth. And I noticed when I came up here, they were many of the chickens and the ducks were actually sitting on top of this hay, so it was obviously warmer for them. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. As I was kicking this around, it occurred to me that there's another benefit for using this hay. This actually was a late cut, and it has a lot of seeds in it, so this way the chickens can peck around at the seeds in this hay as well. Okay, this is kind of gross, but I just wanted to share this with you because you might end up with this challenge as well. If you keep ducks in a really cold climate, you want to keep an eye on their bums, because one of the things that they do is they just sit in one spot and they just poop where they're sitting. And say they're sitting there all night and they poop 5 or 10 times during the night, then that can actually freeze into a ball and stick to their tail feathers. So you want to make sure that you pull that off. That's what I was just doing with that duck. Just then was catching it because it had a little ball of manure stuck to its butt. So you just want to keep an eye on that because that can't be comfortable. Oh, look at this. They're already pecking at it. So this lady back over here, that is one of the Chanticleer hens, but you can see how she hardly has any comb at all. That is one of the reasons I love this breed of chicken compared to one that has a larger comb like this one next to it. So these are just Rhode Island Red. You can see that the ends of their combs are a little bit white, just showing that they have a little bit of frostbite. And the Chanticleers over here just don't have that trouble. Okay, I'm really happy with the way that looks. I love putting in fresh bedding into any animal pen because it just freshens it up and it seems cozy. And I always just imagine if it were me that I would definitely appreciate a clean bed. I hope you have a great couple days till I see you again, everyone. Bye.